Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth. Every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is the founder and CEO of 1106 Design, none other than Miss Michele DeFilippo.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Abstract Essay, Miss Michele, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure, Daniel. My company, as you said, is 1106 Design, and we help authors publish books and release them in their own name without using a publisher so that they make more money and they keep control over their book for the entire process.
Well, Miss Michele, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world through publishing books. So tell us, can you outline of the three main book publishing models, traditional, self-publishing, and hybrid, and their key differences?
I certainly can. Most everyone is familiar with traditional publishing. That's the model of publishing that's been around for hundreds of years. And in that model, the author pays nothing. The publisher pays for all the experts to produce the book, manages the entire process, and keeps most of the revenue from sales, paying the author a small royalty when the book is sold, usually about $1 a copy. Today's publishers charge the author for services and take most of the revenue from sales when a book is sold. It's a little bit better than traditional publishing in that they will pay the author about $2 to $3 per book, but the author still loses control of the book in many cases, and they don't have the full control that they would have with the third option, which is lost in all the noise, and that is original independent publishing as it was first intended. In original independent publishing, the author pays for services to produce the book, but then keeps control of everything and earns 100% of the revenue from book sales when a book is purchased by a buyer. And that works out much better for the author. Typically, the author will make $6 to $8 every time a book is sold. So the reason I'm doing these podcasts is because the original self-publishing model has been largely forgotten, and people don't know that. You know, it's almost instinctive for an author when they finish their manuscript to think, I have to find a publisher, but actually you don't. It is possible to publish your book, distribute it worldwide, and keep control of it with the original indie publishing model. And that's what we help authors do.
What inspired you to explore and compare these three publishing models in your work or discussions?
Well, I've been in the publishing industry for more than 50 years. So when I first started out, traditional publishing was the only model. And then around 2001, when I formed 1106 Design, is when indie publishing first became possible with the introduction of Amazon. They changed the publishing world, and they made it possible for anyone to distribute a book to the public without working with a publisher and without giving up control of their book. So my company's been doing that for authors since 2001. And in the last, I would say 10, 15 years or so, we started seeing these middleman publishers come on the scene. Some of them call themselves hybrid publishers. That's a word that everyone's familiar with. Some of them now don't use an adjective at all. They just call themselves publishers. But like I said, what they do is they charge the author to produce the book, and they take money out of the author's pocket every time a book is sold. So authors need to just examine that model a little bit more closely. There are some good hybrid publishers who actually participate financially with the author in the creation of the book. And that's fair. That's an ordinary partnership. But there are many so-called hybrid publishers that charge the author for every service and yet still help themselves to some of the author's profits when a book is sold. And that doesn't work out too well for the author.
How does traditional publishing with its established houses like Simon and Schuster's benefit authors seeking credibility and distribution?
Well, the credibility with a traditional publisher is almost automatic. The problem with traditional publishing is that it's very difficult to get. I work with a literary agent once in a while who told me that a traditional publisher like Simon and Schuster, one of the big houses, only want to work with authors who have something like 100,000 social media followers. And they have to have a real platform before a traditional publisher gets interested. So for most authors, that's just not even a possibility. And so indie publishing, if it's done the traditional way, offers a great opportunity for these authors to release a book and publish it and keep control of it on their own.
Ms. Michelle, what are the biggest challenges authors face when pursuing traditional publishing, such as securing an agent or contract?
Well, like I said, it's very difficult. They can pitch their book to agents, and there's websites where you can find legitimate agents, and that's one of the websites is called Publishers Lunch, and you could go there, and there you will find traditional agents. Unfortunately, there are a lot of scam agents in the marketplace right now, just waiting for indie publishers to contact them. I can give you one tip. A true literary agent will never charge you money because agents, a legitimate agent is paid by the publisher, never by the author. So that's one way to tell the difference. But traditional publishers are very selective, and not only are they selective about the manuscripts they accept, they will often change the manuscript because they're making that significant investment to produce the book. They have the right and the responsibility, I guess, to shape that book into something that they think is going to sell. And so that's sometimes hard for authors to accept.
How does self-publishing empower authors to maintain creative control, and what tools like Amazon Kindle's direct publishing have made it more accessible?
Well, Amazon invented what's called print on demand publishing, and they basically allow you to distribute your book everywhere in the world by opening up an account at kdp.com. But that doesn't help you produce the book. They offer some automated tools that will turn out an amateurish book. But if you want a good book that looks like it was published by a traditional publisher, you do need the help of editing and design professionals to make that happen. The do-it-yourself approach maybe is okay if you're publishing a book just for yourself or your family or for a hobby. But if you hope to sell your book, you really need to make it a good product for buyers to be attracted to it and also to leave you good reviews after they buy it. And so that's where we come in.
Ms. Michelle, what are the primary drawbacks of self-publishing, particularly in terms of marketing and visibility, as noted in the indie publishing discussions?
Yeah, indie publishing is a challenge that not every author wants because you have all of the responsibility of a publisher. You have to think about everything, including the marketing after the book has been produced. So that's difficult and it can be expensive. So I think authors should really question themselves and say and try to determine if they're willing to roll up their sleeves and put in that work because without it you can't succeed. And I think that's why authors turn to publishers. But like I said, in today's publishing landscape, sometimes the publishers don't do any of that, and yet they still take control of the book and they still take money out of the author's pocket whenever a book is sold. So there aren't too many good options for authors unless you are lucky enough to get a contract with a traditional major publishing house.
Can you explain how hybrid publishings like Spark Press model bridges the gap between traditional and self-publishing?
Well, that's the interesting thing because they should be the middle ground. Like I said, there's a few hybrid publishers that are good. For example, they may charge the author to produce the editing and the design, but then they add their expertise and they pay for marketing, let's say. If you found a hybrid publisher that does that and they pay for the marketing out of their own pocket, then you've got a genuine partnership. And that can be a very good thing. It takes that burden off the author. But so many hybrid publishers today charge the author for everything and still take money out of their pocket. And that's what I want authors to be aware of, so that they can ask the right questions when they're interviewing publishers or anyone else to get their book produced.
What role does book awards, Miss Michelle?
Well, there are good book awards and there are not so good book awards.
Can you tell us more about?
Yeah, there are legitimate book awards that are judged by experts in the industry, and if you win a book award in one of those platforms, it actually means something. But unfortunately, there are a lot of book award platforms that don't mean a thing, and the operators of those platforms basically give an award to just about everyone who pays them an entry fee. So you have to be careful about that.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell us the legit book awards that you considered as well?
Yeah. The IPPY awards, IPPY,
Mm-hmm.
are run by a good outfit that actually cares about quality publishing. I'm trying to think of another one now.
Forward in this, I think.
Forward Reviews is a good award. If they do that now, I haven't kept up with them too much. I'm trying to think of the other one. If I knew you were going to ask that question, I'd have been prepared.
No worries at all.
It'll come to me later, yes. I'm sure.
No worries at all. And Miss Michelle.
I did.
Yes.
The Benjamin Franklin Awards.
Oh,
that's also a good one.
One of the best.
Yes.
Okay, Miss Michelle, as a founder of 1106 Design, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
50 years in the publishing business, I pretty much met most of the goals that I've set for the business. We're doing great. We've helped 4,000 authors publish books so far, and I'm going to keep going as long as I can because I love helping authors.
Definitely. Good luck to your goals, Miss Michelle, and looking forward for more success. And can you give a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Yes, if you want to open a business, as long as you know something about the industry you're going into, that's great. Go for it. You'll learn everything you need to know as you go along. When I first opened my doors, a customer walked in and he told me, listen to your customers. They will tell you everything you need to know. And that's 100% true. And I still follow that today. I'm still learning something new every day from our customers.
Yes, and thank you for that advice. Ms. Michelle, and can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Gosh, I read all the time, but I can recommend my little book if that's okay to do right now.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I wrote a little book called Publish Like the Pros, and I allow people to download it for free on our website, and that will give you a little summary of indie publishing the traditional way, which is what we follow, and I hope it will educate you so that you can avoid the not-so-good publishers that are out there.
Yes, indeed, and thank you for that recommended book, Ms. Michelle. And what trends in the publishing industry, such as digital platforms or print on demand, are shaping the future of these models?
Well, the two main print on demand platforms are KDP.com and IngramSpark.com, IngramSpark.com. And when authors are interviewing with a publisher and the publisher promises them a royalty, That's one of the red flags that should make you pay attention. And what you should do is compare that royalty that they promise you and plug in the same numbers at kdp.com and ingramspark.com. They both have calculators that you can use, and you will find out what you should be paid if you manage your own book the way we help you manage your own book directly without using a publisher.
Ms. Michelle, how does the editing and production quality differs across traditional self and hybrid publishing models?
Well, in the self-publishing world, unfortunately, a lot of people think self-publishing means do it yourself. And so we have a lot of very poor books that have been released into the market now. The one great thing about traditional publishers is that you can always count on a top-notch, beautifully edited, beautifully designed product, like I said, and you can't always count on that from some of the middle ground publishers and even freelancers that you might hire in the industry today. So what you should look for is someone with traditional publishing experience, someone who's been around the block a few times and for a few years, because a lot of companies have gotten into the space now. They see the opportunity in self-publishing, but they don't have the experience to back it up. So you can look at their samples and compare those samples to the work of traditional publishers. That's one way to spot the difference. Another way is to just pick up some of the books they've published themselves and actually read them and see if it's been well edited and whether or not the text is filled with typos or other problems. So I feel sorry for authors now because there's so much information. And they really do have a tough time sorting through it all.
Ms. Michelle, what are the misconceptions about self-publishing that deter authors from choosing this model, and how do you address them?
I think it's just lack of knowledge. I think it's an instinct to go look for a publisher. I think a lot of authors don't even know that our model exists. There are several companies like mine that do the same thing. We just help you produce the book, and then we're out of the picture in terms of revenue after the sale. So I think it's just a lack of knowledge, and some of these, these middleman publishers don't actually do a good job. And that really is concerning to me as someone who's been in the industry for a very long time, because in my brain, I will always consider a book a work of art. And that's kind of going by the wayside sometimes. It's unfortunate.
Definitely. And how does hybrid publishing's collaborative approach, like Europa editions, focus on cultural dialogue, appeal to authors seeking a middle ground?
Well, we collaborate closely with the author at every stage of the process, and a good publisher will do that as well, if that's what you mean.
Yes. And what role does an author's platform or audience play in their success across these three publishing models?
Okay, it's absolutely critical in any publishing model because it's, sometimes authors will call me and they'll say, I'm a shy person. I don't like to put myself out there. I don't want to sell my book. It's just not my personality. But then I remind them that people can't buy something they've never heard about. So
Yes.
if you don't want to market your book, that's fine. But then you'd better line up someone else who's willing to do it for you. And that can get very expensive. So, my advice would be to just get over your fear, because if you have something good to say, people will not criticize you. They won't judge you harshly. They'll listen to what you have to say. And if they find it useful, they'll respond. So, shyness, in other words, shyness isn't serving you. So try to get over it.
Yes, indeed. And let it go for sure. And Miss Michelle, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in its third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season.
My goodness, do you sleep?
That's the question they usually ask. Yes, Miss Michelle, please do listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Michelle, what's one key piece of recommendation you'd give an aspiring author trying to choose between traditional self or hybrid publishing?
You can never go wrong if you choose quality work. If you invest in quality book, nobody honest can promise you sales, and a lot of publishers in the space are doing that. You'll find companies that promise you a bestseller. That's not going to happen. That's a lie. No, even major publishers don't often have bestsellers. But if you produce a quality book, then you will know that you did your very best. And then the results, you can be at peace with whatever the results are after that. That's my best advice.
Yes, Miss Michele DeFilippo, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself?
Sure, you can find out all about us at 1106design.com, and you can book a free consultation. I will be happy to answer your questions about any aspect of the publishing industry.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Michele DeFilippo, because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering authors to come. So, Miss Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.